We'd create not just a store, but a community centre. We do public rituals. It's kind of like a community centre for pagans. We're very loud and noisy. We're very unashamedly, we're pagan in your face, you know. It's a very religious area.
Hello, my name is Madeline. I am the host today. We are going to talk about witchcraft. I make videos on spirituality, conscious lifestyle, and other alternative healing practices. I also make online content on meditation music and ASMR style videos for relaxation and alternative healing. I thought this would be a good first video for Lion's Breath because I started my spiritual journey learning about witchcraft when I was like 12 years old. I found out that I was like intuitive, and I started doing so much research, and I really couldn't find much other than witchcraft stuff. So that's sort of like where my spiritual journey started, and I kind of steered away from that in my spiritual practices, but I want to go back to my roots and explore them a little more. So I sought out more information, and what better way to go to the largest pagan witchcraft store in the Midwest. I went and interviewed the owners and some other pagans who are part of the coven and community. I did some research about paganism. I got my little notebook out. The term paganism derived from early Christians in the 4th century for people who practiced any other religion or ceremony that wasn't Christianity. Other religions like Judaism, Hinduism, and Buddhism also use this term to define it as being without religion. Paganism represents a wide variety of traditions that emphasize a reverence for nature and a revival of ancient polytheistic and animistic practices. They believe in multiple gods or goddesses with various associations that embody the aspect of culture and human psychology called deities. Most pagans are like herbalists and know a lot about Mother Nature, and that was like a big thing for me that I really love and care about because I love working with herbs. In my later practice of spirituality, I got into alternative healing, like what I'm doing now, and learned so much about the different ways of health and healing, and herbalism has always been like a top priority in my list for healing, so I really appreciate that. Their practices include the use of nature and herbs. They also believe in multiple gods, which I also did too, so that's also why I agreed with those beliefs. It was interesting doing the research about how Christianity and the main world religions kind of excluded pagans just because they didn't have the same beliefs, and I feel like that is something to be explored and talk about. So this is why I made this video.
I am Paul Barbary, and I am the co-owner and co-creator of Arts and Craft.
Thank you guys for making me feel so welcome and allowing me to talk to you guys, and everyone here has been great. Start off by asking how you got into your practice.
Luckily, because we lived in England, we have some of the most beautiful prehistoric sites, obviously Stonehenge, Avebury. And my parents took me down to Cornwall, which is a very wild and Celtic part of the UK. And there's a beautiful high moors with some of the most beautiful standing stones surviving. And it was like, I could feel it. They took me to a lonely old stone circle up on the high moors, and my hair stood on end. And I was like, this is it. This is everything. I've never felt this in any church. It was like electricity. It was like, wow. And I got interested in magic and paganism. In those days, there was no internet. There was like little public libraries, but I managed to read and find as much as I could. And then a few years later, we went on a holiday down to Glastonbury, which again is one of the most famous pagan places. It's all the Arthurian legends in England. And I was shocked, because if you ever go to Glastonbury, it's like, we call it Diagon Alley in the UK. The whole main street of Glastonbury, there's about 30 different witchcraft stores, about 5 crystal stores, there's 2 goddess temples, there's like a pagan lending library. And I'm hanging out in these stores, and people were talking about Wicca and witchcraft and their coven, and how during the night they leave their bodies and go into the body of a hare and go running around. And I was like, rapt, you know?
Yeah. Was it that event in the UK that inspired you to start this business, basically?
Pretty much. I did some good old-fashioned oath magic. That in return for a prosperous and fun and enjoyable life, I would dedicate myself to restoring the worship of, pagan ways, and the restoration of the Lord and the Lady, and so on and so forth. And I will admit, I have had the most fantastic life, to the point I was able to retire at 47. Who gets to do that these days? And we said, what should we do next? And it was kind of like, I've got a pretty big debt, I made a pretty big promise up on that hill, 30 years ago. And so we decided that we're going to do this. We're going to create.
That's a wonderful story.
We're creating not just a store, but a community centre. We do public rituals. It's kind of like a community centre for pagans. We're very loud and noisy. We're very unashamedly, we're pagan in your face, It's a very religious area. This is an oath-bound repayment of a debt.
This is our apothecary. We have the largest apothecary in the Midwest. I am a certified herbalist also, so I do a lot of herbal medicine. We do buy only food grade, and we make teas and special blends and all of that. We have about 300 different herbs right now, and probably about 200 oils.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And we just keep collecting. So one of our owners, Paul, is from the UK. So we grow like our own belladonna and everything. UK plants, we get a lot of like rowanwood and real hawthorn berries and things like that in too.
This place already.
Yeah, and then
the deities.
yes, this is our statue section. So we do have it broken down by pantheon. So we do have like the archangels, all of the Orisha.
Yeah.
Kind of our random assortment, where you have like the wicked triple goddess and Ganesh and Lilith, and then our Santa Muerte shelf.
Wow.
And then this whole thing is Greeks and Romans, and then we have the Norse and the Celts and Irish over here. We do carry a very wide variety of crystals.
Yeah.
Usually we have about 150 different tumbles.
Wow.
And then altogether we probably have maybe over 1,000 different individual specimens. Paul is a blacksmith.
Okay.
So he forges, wands, athames, burins, all kinds of fun stuff.
It's beautiful.
As well as hand carving all of the wands.
Wow.
Which again, we have hard to find British woods like yew and hazel and hawthorn
And you can
and
work
rowan.
with those.
And then Luna Ignis is our store brand.
Okay.
So it
That's
is
cool.
an internationally acclaimed product. And they are hand blended loose incenses and oils. So we have devotionals for like Bridget and Hecate and Lilith. And then we also have like love and luck and banish whatever you need.
Yeah.
We have a whole line of deity incenses as well as holidays,
Awesome.
the elementals, And then
you guys have a great
all of our
variety of things
intentionals.
to help people in different aspects of their lives.
Oh yeah.
I love it.
But we do have over 1,300 titles.
Wow. Beginner to like probably expert.
Yeah, so we have everything separated from like beginners to various craft, herbalism. We have all the pantheons separated, so Celtic, Irish, and Norse, including traditional British witchcraft. So we do have a few publishers that are very hard to find in America. We carry a wide variety of herbal infused candles to traditional voodoo hoodoo candle blends. All kinds of candle holders, and then
That's
just
so
like
cute.
plain colored chimes and jumbos and households.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
then we do sell herbal infused votives too.
I use those to put sigils on them.
Yep, absolutely.
Spells.
And then this is our vendor corner. So we do like to support local artists. We have about
Cool.
40 different local artists in right now.
Yes.
And this is where they get to display their art.
Wow.
So we
So
have-
it's everyone's in one whole corner.
Yep.
That's amazing.
So we have jewelry, handmade soaps, and bath salts, and even going up to water pipes and all
yeah.
of the fun stuff.
Glass making.
Yes, we do have a ritual room in the back.
Okay.
Because we do public rituals and classes and events, and
Nice.
basically the second half of the store is just a big open room where we do that.
Yeah, so I know you said you had a Reiki practitioner.
Yeah.
Do you have other practitioners here? Like what
Yeah, so we do
services or offers?
We used to have an acupuncturist, but not anymore, unfortunately. So now we have Reiki and readings are pretty much what we have right now.
Yeah, so how can people find the events and stuff
They'll
like that?
always be up on our Facebook page, and then our website, we do have a calendar
Okay,
updated as
yeah,
well.
just keep everybody on the loop.
Yep.
Thank you so much for the tour.
Okay, I am Pat Camarina Rose Barbary. I had a paper that I had to do, and it was supposed to be some kind of historical something or other. And I went to the library, and I started reading about the Salem witch trials, and I thought, oh, okay. And I know that they weren't necessarily witches, but I know there was practice there somewhere. And I started thinking, well, I know a lot about this stuff. Then I started looking into astrology. And I did charts and I did all that, and I started thinking, well, I could go to tarot cards. I started reading tarot cards. It all became kind of a natural progression.
Right.
Also, I have dreams, and sometimes little visions and stuff. And I thought, well, sometimes I know things. I can't explain it. I've never really expanded on it. It's just what I do. I don't want to go any further. I don't want to know everything. I don't want to know what's going to happen in the future. I don't care. I met up with the Earth Spirit community. It's a group that still exists, and they still do rites of spring and twilight covening and a bunch of stuff. And when I went to the gathering, one of the founders of the gathering said, we would like you to do a ritual. I remember going and doing that ritual. I remember a bunch of the elders like Margot Adler and Starhawk and just Judy, what's her name? Whatever. Anyway, I remember them all standing there and rooting for me, and I was young. And I was thinking, they really liked it, We left, Kirk and I, my late husband, left Massachusetts, and we stopped doing the coven thing for a while because he was little and we had to raise him and all that stuff. And we weren't doing really a whole lot until Kirk passed away. Lots of stuff happened. Kale, my son, was 14. Once I met Paul, we decided to resurrect Moonfire, adding more ceremonial stuff because he's part of the OTO, and resurrecting some of the old Alexandrian stuff I had been taught but wasn't using much. And we became Moonfire as it is today, which is just kind of huge. The only recommendation I have is believe in yourself and what you can do. The whole idea behind the craft and making things manifest is intent, purpose, clear purpose, and believe that it can happen. You work a spell, you do a working, you call in Oya or whatever, and you believe with all your freaking heart and every ounce of your body and soul that is going to happen, and it works. I think people have a lot more power than they really think. And some people have more.
Believing in yourself.
It's believing.
And in their practice.
It's believing in yourself and practice. And if you want to go out on a beach and do a spell with 2 rocks, go for it.
Right.
It's the intention that you're plugging into the universe's algorithm, not the tools you're using.
Yep. Tools just help.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Tools
They keep
help.
you focused.
Exactly.
But that's, and there's a power in everything. There's power in stones. There's a power in, I don't know, just everything has some kind of mystical energy and power. And if you get in tune with those particular energies and that mysticism and that belief in that other part that's outside that you can bring in or ask to help you, that's what it takes.
My name is Duke. I use all pronouns. I'm a high school English teacher. I've been practicing the craft for going on 4 years now. And I am a part of the coven that is here.
So can you explain more about the coven, what your beliefs are?
Yeah. So I tend to think of myself as an omnist. I believe in all pantheons, all beings. So, being an English teacher, I work with literature a lot. I adore literature and reading and poetry, and something that I like to think is that we as the readers get more out of it than maybe what the author originally put into it. How I see it, especially with our practices and our deities, it's very individual and it's very personal. And I think that there are no, not everyone is going to practice the craft in the same way. It's and there's no wrong way to practice either. And so I see a lot of TikTok witches who are like, oh, you can't do this and you can't do that, and I'm like, yeah, you need a cover, you need carnelian, and I'm like, no, I don't. I work primarily with the Greek pantheon, primarily the chthonic deities, Hades, Persephone, Hecate. I also work with Hestia just very recently, but she's more of another thing. I think that the getting into the myth and reading those stories and hearing different interpretations, they're all told in different ways. The story, I have Medusa tattoo, the story of Medusa, the story of Orpheus and Eurydice. It's interpreted, yeah. And so it's whatever you really connect with.
Yeah.
And so I think that it has to be. I think it has to be very personal, and it has to be whatever feels right to you.
So what's a good starting point, I guess, to introduce people to that?
That's a great question. How I got into it. I mean, when I started out, I considered myself a Christian witch because I wasn't ready to kind of deviate from that path just yet.
Right.
But I eventually started to feel more like something was reaching out to me. It's kind of a gut feeling. And you can reach out to a deity, they can reach out to you. People tend to be like, oh, you can't work with them unless they reach out. That's not. Again, it's that we're all trying to put restrictions on each other. That's not how it works. But for me, I took an interest in Kate, and I saw her name everywhere, and I was seeing signs, and my friend, who's the one that kind of sparked my interest in all this, one day was like, hey, can I do a rune reading for you? And he just scatters the runes. He didn't tell me what it was for, and 2 popped up. And he goes, okay, so I was asking if any deities are reaching out to you. Any goddesses, gateways calling out to you. And I was like, oh no. Yes. And then also a goddess of fertility. And I thought, I didn't know who that could be at first, but then I was my initial reaction was Persephone, because I've always been interested in her, and I've always loved her story and her energy. And so it was interesting how I would eventually be working with both of them. And how I came to work with Hades, it was neither of our idea. It was Hecate's idea. I had a dream one day where I I saw her and she smiled, and then before I could say anything, she just like points to someone on her right, and there's this man standing there holding a Biden, and I saw the Biden, and I was like,
so you do tend to be a little bit more of a creative
and she starts talking, no sound is coming, I can't hear a thing, it is like so deafeningly quiet, but she's excited, and I realize she's not talking to me, she's talking to him, and she's like, and he's kind of giving me like an up and down, and like looking at her like, who's that?
Have you seen this?
Yeah, I was like, what is this? And she's like pointing between us, and she's like so excited. And so I wake up, and I had like, I cannot emphasize the importance of witchy friends enough. Having that community, because like you learn more from each other and you kind of grow together. And so I asked one of my friends, I was like, hey, your husband works with Hades, right? And so I gave him the dream, and I was like, how do you feel about this? And he goes, oh, I think it kind of wants you to work together.
Right.
I'm like, okay, all right. Yeah.
Messages.
And it's been a great relationship so far.
What is the difference for say like working with spirit guides and deities?
When I started out, I only thought that like something could reach out to you, and like I didn't want to impose, I didn't want to insult anyone, I didn't want to like waste anyone's time, and so I just waited for someone to come to me. And it's not that I've never received messages from spirit guides. I think like I'm sure everyone has one, or maybe a few. But I think. Maybe I'm just not at that point in my craft yet to work with them.
No, yeah.
But the deities, they all have like the ethical plans for us. They know they have our best interest in mind, and like the spirit guides are very similar in that sense.
How do you work with your deities?
I have altar spaces for all of them. And I like to incorporate things symbols of them, things to honor them. Because I want to show them that I respect them, that I honor them, and I appreciate their space in my life. And it started out very professional, very formal, and now I call her Kate Mom. Yeah, whenever, and I
got close.
We did get really close. But I'll feel their energies. I can recognize a Kate almost instantly. They don't.
Definitely a real.
Never tell when Hades is around. And I asked him, I was doing like tarot readings and pendulums with him, I was trying to talk to him, and I was like, are you sending me signs that you're around? And he goes, no. And I'm like, are you around? He's like, yes. And I'm like, will I ever be able to tell when you're here? He's like, no. I'm like, thanks. Appreciate it. I like to walk around with my dowsing rods in my apartment, see if anyone's
maybe you don't necessarily
and they're always like straight ahead, but then whenever I get close to the altar, it crosses immediately. And I'm like, hi guys, how are you? I say good morning, I say goodnight to them every day. I have Hestia in the kitchen, and whenever I'm cooking, I'm like, how's your day going?
Right.
And so just talk to them and build up that relationship. Because I try to treat them like they're powerful beings that are worthy of respect, but I try to treat them like family, because that's the kind of relationships that I feel they're trying to provide me, and they all very different. And their signs are very different, but it's the more that you work with them, the more you practice, the easier it becomes to recognize.
Yes, my name is Etha Pisdrovsky. I am the manager of arts and craft, and I do have my own business called Fortune and Flora, that I do readings and herbal mixtures and things like that.
Awesome. So you said you started 20 years ago. How did this come about?
I was fortunate enough to be born and raised into the craft. I come from a long pagan family. So yeah, like I was born doing this.
That's amazing. I've always wondered how I would turn out being born into this culture. Do you have like any tips, recommendations for new starters in tarot, working with deities?
Definitely pay attention, especially with deities and starting to do work with them. The ways they reach out, like I'm sure Duke has said, can be very subtle sometimes, and you really have to pay attention. But really my best advice is just do it. Like everyone always, comes out and so like, I'm afraid to start, I don't know where to start. Pick something you like. You don't have to wait for anyone to reach out to you. If you want to work with Athena, do it. And sure, yeah.
That's really good advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I asked Duke earlier, so can you explain sort of the difference working with spirit guides and deities?
Yeah. Good question. Spirit guides for most people tend to be more personal. But I also tend to have really personal relationships with my deities. It doesn't have to feel as foreign, especially like in Christianity or Islam, Judaism, any of the major organized religions where, you know, you're basically worshiping gods through people instead of worshiping them directly. It can be very personal, but spirit guides are that extra personal kick. They know what you're doing. They're watching it. They're judging you for it.
Always around.
Yeah. So if I have a really deep personal issue, I will go to my spirit guides first because they've been with me from day one, you know, just like they are with everybody. And, you know, even though so have the gods, it's a lot more of a personal relationship. They've really been with you through your struggles. So I always feel like I get more personal results that way.
Your guides.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was asking you, but I'm more interested in working with deities. I've never worked with them before. Like I was telling her, I'm a Reiki practitioner, and before I do Reiki on anyone, I call upon my spirit guides, the person's spirit guides, for protection, you know, do symbols, Reiki, and just imagine pyramids and other stuff around me. So how can I, as a Reiki practitioner, use deities to, like, how can I use them, essentially, is my question,
You can use them for the exact same thing.
Okay.
They're great for protection, creating that good sacred space. And you can also call on them to kind of infuse you with their energy. So especially when you're doing Reiki or any other kind of energy healing, it's good to have that influence because then it's your energy interacting with theirs inside of the deity space.
Okay.
So it's really just a good enhancement.
Okay, yeah, just similar to spirit guides. Just call upon any help, basically.
Exactly.
Okay. Is there another extension of deities and spirit guides that you know of?
So my family is Romani, so we have a lot of interesting beliefs that not a lot of other people do. And then even within like family groups, things change. So like for us, my mom always kind of believed in like an upper tier of deities, and then very similar to Yoruba religion, where you have like a central creative energy that creates different deities to basically help run everything and rule over a certain aspect of the universe. But there is still that central prime creative energy that you can call upon through your deities as well.
Okay, gotcha. Can you explain a little bit about what you believe in?
So I am, I guess, a pretty traditional polytheist, while also being a Unitarian. I do believe that the deities, the divine, reaches out to you in whatever form you need. So that may be Christianity for one person, and if that works for you, awesome. That is your path to the divine, as where with me. My family, we have a few patron deities that we've worked with as long as we have family records. Bridget was always a big family goddess, but so is Athena. So I work with them, and then I have a few of my own that I've just kind of collected through the years. So like Freya is another big one for me. And then Ashera, because my family is hereditary-wise, we're Jewish, but my mom likes to call it Judeo-Pagan. We like really blended it through the years.
Yeah, I was reading on the website too.
Yeah, and Ashera is the Queen of Heaven. It was Yahweh's wife before they decided to write her out of the scriptures. So I work with her a lot, and it's a very similar energy to that, you know, monotheistic energy, but she's got a good vibe.
Right. I call upon my deity and know that they are here with me and know which one is here with me.
Divination is a great way. You can get decks or pendulums or anything that you can offer as a conduit between you and whatever deity you're working with, and use that for confirmation. And it's also noticing those subtle signs. Like with Hestia, I work with Hestia a lot, and you know, whenever you walk into a space and you feel just that, you know, homey feeling, like you belong there, you know, that's Hestia. And it's really just getting to know those little things for you. It can happen a lot through dream work. If you ever do, you know, like if you do mugwort or like datura, which poisonous, I don't recommend it, but it is good for like flying ointments, and doing like dream flight work and stuff like that is another good way. Just kind of meeting them in their medium instead of always trying to bring them to ours.
After talking to everyone there, I felt a lot of emotions, just because I felt like it's a community that like is very open and really like shamed on. Probably why I stopped wanting to research and learn more about it. There's a train passing by. After learning everything, even to this point today, I feel like it's a practice that should still be acknowledged by like modern spirituality, because it teaches a lot about working with Mother Earth and different energies and personalities and like spirits. And I feel like it's the same thing that I practice, but just like different titles. Like for example, like when I was talking to Duke and Aoife, talking to them about like the difference between deities and spirit guides, I was like, I could see how those two can correlate after they explained like the difference of like how they saw deities and like how I feel when I like talk to my spirit guides, when I practice Reiki or any type of energy work. I feel like I want to learn more about the community, and I feel like people should not bash it just because Christianity wanted to be the only religion in the world, basically. And I feel like all those other major religions are rooted from paganism and just sort of like ignored it and bashed it and like just like really demonetized it a lot because of their different ways of practicing spirituality. And I feel like there is no wrong way in practicing your beliefs that actually help you heal. A lot of what they practice actually helps me in my practice. I do a lot. I don't do just like energy work. Like I've done different spell works, like beauty spells and stuff like that, just to like help my confidence. And there is a good way to use witchcraft, and that's sort of the purpose why I wanted to make this video, is because I wanted to show once you know about something, don't just have like an open mind about it, and you can take little bits and parts of it and use it for your own practice. You don't have to be a certain way to practice your own beliefs and spiritual journey. So that's all for this video. Thanks for watching.